If you have the money to take care of a problem, you don't have a problem. He was a guy, he was like a millionaire. And the guy was a millionaire, he would still do a bunch of things on his own. Like he wouldn't go to the mechanic to fix his car. He would fix his car himself because he's like, oh, I'm going to save $250, $400. I'm not going to pay for that.
Yeah.
And then he went to fix the AC. And he had to go on the roof of his house or he had to go up high. And he fell back, busted his head, went to knocked on the door in front of his house, and he's like, oh, I'm fine. Starts throwing up. And they notice he had a concussion. Gets to the hospital, ends up being in the hospital for, I think, 2 months. Goes in a coma and everything. Survives this. Goes into deep depression because he realizes, I almost lost my life because I didn't want to pay an HVAC guy $250 when I'm a millionaire. This here is for you guys, the movers and the shakers, the motivated and creators, the big thinkers, the big dreamers, the outliers, the one pushing the needle forward, the students of the game and the ones making their lanes, the ones that get things done and know everything is one. Welcome to your pod, the Everything is Everything podcast. Let's go!
Can't ignore it, this my story, I've been more than ready. And this stuff I'm cooking up is like culinary. True intentions, must I mention, it's just legendary.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Everything is Everything podcast. My name is Vladimir Ledesma.
And my name is Fabio Suarez.
And we are super excited to have you here again. Thank you guys for joining us. Today we will be discussing a phenomenal book. I think one of my favorite of the year so far for sure. I'm going to say top three right now.
Yeah.
And that is Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Phenomenal book. They really driven home. I mean, it's funny because in one part he says it sounds like a Dr. Seuss book, and it really does in certain parts. But it's really funny. But
yeah.
But the message is simple but powerful.
Right.
Who, not how. So Who Not How is about shifting from a mindset of how can I achieve this to who can help me achieve this. The book emphasizes the importance of collaboration over individual efforts. This shift frees up your time and energy, allowing you to focus on what you do best while leveraging the strength and expertise of others to achieve your goals more efficiently. Yeah, Junior. So, Fabio, what's your takeaway on it?
Man, for me, you said it was like the top three. I feel like it's the number one book for me,
Nice.
Just because it's making me reevaluate a lot of things myself.
Love it.
And I think the key takeaway is always ask yourself, who is going to help me with this, not how. Because
Right.
you limit yourself when you think to yourself, well, how am I going to do this? It's like you limit yourself in every way. But when you start asking who can help me, it frees up your time. And so at the end of the day, we all want more time, more freedom.
Right.
And so if the more people we get on board where we're going, we're going to definitely be in a better situation to do it.
Right.
Right.
And it's one of them situations like as above, so below. Like, this is not only like, yes, who can help me do this thing, but also who can inspire me and motivate me and take me to my next level, whether that be coaching, mentorship, or the person who can you can hire to do the task. So it's just relationships.
Right.
And I feel like we go back to this a lot. A lot of this has to do with relationships. So I think that's like what makes it super powerful.
Yeah, and he was saying in the book, like, we're already conditioned from school, and just our culture is always how. Like, we're always already in school, we're already being taught like how to do things. It's important, but we're never taught. Start asking yourself who.
Yeah.
Who can help me?
And not only about the how with the school thing, but we're always taught to do it ourselves. If we do it in a group, it's cheating.
Yeah, and he said that too.
That was a big thing that I thought was very powerful, because he was saying, we're taught to take these tests by ourselves, figure out how to, a doctor has to learn how to do the surgery by himself, know every part of the body, and be able to give these essays and explanations of every part of medicine, when in reality they're going to be professionals and probably focus on a specialty. And I think that the point that he was kind of getting to that is, well, we're going to have our specialty, so why not focus on our specialty from the beginning and then find the who's to do the rest of it.
Yeah.
And that aspect of just why it's hard for us to even get into this mindset, because sometimes we think, oh no, it's better if we just learn how to do every aspect of this ourselves. And that's just going to make the journey longer. You might have been able to do a task in 2 days that might take you a month because you're trying to do it all by yourself, when you could have maybe went and found the 1 or 2 people that would have bought you back your time.
Right. Within like 1 to 2 hours, it could have been done by someone else. And also, it's like, that's not a bad thing because you're somebody's who, they're your who.
Yeah.
Like, no one's above anyone. It's just, it's like it's a group effort, but you guys are getting wherever you're planning to get a lot faster.
Love that. Yeah. So importance and impact, the biggest difference this mindset shift makes is the ability to achieve bigger and better outcomes. By focusing on finding the right who's, you can overcome limitations, reduce stress, enhance productivity. The approach is particularly powerful in complex projects or goals that require diverse skills. So like, even for example, to give an example of that, right now in what we're doing with this podcast, you know, we have been learning throughout the process, throughout this journey.
Right.
And we're one of each other's who's, right?
Right.
You know, the Everything is Everything podcast was an idea that was already here implemented, but you had that burning desire, like, hey, I want to start something with videography. I want it to boom. And that the brainstorm came together. And now we're both enhancing in what we wanted to do in our one goal. Right. By helping each other accomplish it.
Right. And finding out who else is going to be a part of it, right? It's it's going to accelerate where we're going.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Even for the socials, now we have, you know, we've created a certain system within the Everything team that is kind of putting the system of how the social media goes together, and it's flowing a lot more fluid. It still needs work. It still needs more who's. Right. But it's getting there, and it's not because of me or anything like, oh, you're learning so much more and becoming so much. No, it's like, no, I'm finding the right people for the team that is making it progress. Right. And then that's a big part of it. And when I read this book, that was something that excited me to say, hey, well, at least I know I'm on the right track. Right. And now I can dig deeper into this.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to the one thing what we spoke about a while back on one of our episodes. Yep. You know, it helps you discover, like, what's your one thing? Because while you're asking yourself, like, you know, oh, but I need to learn how to do this, it distracts you from, but what's your one thing?
Yeah, what are you really good at?
Yeah, and we spoke about it a little bit. Like, I'm discovering, like, it's video edits for me. Where it's like, that's where I want to be at. That's what I want to, like, how to brand and videos, right? Once I get really super good at that, all the other things could be hired out. But if I can just get good at that, and, you know, all of us have it, but I feel like because of this book, it's making me ask that question, like, who can do what I shouldn't be doing?
And I love, we're going to get to that in a second, actually. Right. How do you figure out your one thing, and how do you figure out your tasks and who you need is with the success criterias. For this mindset to be considered successful, the following must be true. So there must be truth to what you're trying to do. A clear vision in communication. Yeah. The right who's are identified and engaged. Regular feedback and alignment are maintained. The team works in synergy and towards a shared goal. And that's kind of how you know if you have the right who's and if the task and the project at hand is headed in the right direction. And I feel like that was so good, like a clear vision. Yeah. Just, you know.
The more clear that vision is, the who is going to be attracted to you because they know where you're going. Yes. That's why it's so important to develop that clear vision. So when you put it out there, like right now, like I know your VA is working on getting some more admins and doing things like that. Yep. But the clear that vision is of what we're doing, what we stand for, our mission. Yeah. It's like those who's are just going to be like, absolutely, I want to be a part of that because this is where I've been wanting to do. And I'm good at this. And so, yeah, no, it's really powerful. When I read that, how important it is just to have that clear vision, because a lot of people don't have that clear vision. Right. Their mission is all over the place.
Yeah. So. And I think it's important to just kind of have it be a one-liner. You know, you should be able, like, if I ask you, hey, what's your goal? You should be able to say to me what your goal is. Like, I don't mind sharing it because now I'm so excited and fired up on what I'm doing. All of this, the social media, Mr. Everything Homes, it all trickles back down to real estate for me. Right. And my goal and objective is in the next 12 months to have 100 people in a home. So that's my goal. My goal is to sell 100 houses, whether it's selling them for people or having them buy it. But 100 families to be affected through real estate by my expertise and to be able to guide them there.
That's amazing.
That's my goal. That's it. And like, I was thinking about this with this book, and I was like, how can I make this simple, clear, and transparent? That's my goal. I have different ways that I'm going to go about doing it, right? One is letting people know who I am,
right.
Letting know what I can bring of service and what I can do for them. But ultimately, it's for them to be able to reach out and ask me those questions and us do the consultations and get them to their goals.
Right, and I think that's so amazing that you said that because, you know, I was speaking to somebody yesterday. Shout out to Dr. Carius. I asked him, I said, hey man, like, what's one word that we can, when I'm doing your video, what's one word? Just give me one word to brand you. He was like, resiliency. And I was like, got it. And
he was quick with it. Knew it right there.
Yeah, because if you go to his channel, he even says Dr. Carius and then resiliency. Like it says it somewhere on his channel, and it's like that's what we're gonna focus on. That when I'm doing the video now, like
that's
all I know,
brand.
That's his brand. And so when you have a clear vision, everybody knows where to go. And you know, I just love that you said that because a lot of people are going all over the place.
Right. I mean, and I've done that for years, right? So it's not like I am saying like I didn't figure that out in one day.
Yeah, you didn't just wake up to it.
Yeah, that wasn't like a one day thing. Like I've been in my career for 7 years. I've been doing a lot of things. But all of those things have led me up to this.
Yeah.
But the more clear that you can get, the better you can find your who's. Because you know exactly what you're looking for. So the right who's are identified and engaged once your vision is clear. Regular feedback and alignment are maintained. So that's something that we've been doing a lot, right? We do feedback every week. We have meetings weekly. How did the last pod go? Hey, is the visuals as good as we can get it? Is the audio where we need it to be?
Right.
Is the marketing how we need it to be? Is the marketing coming through the right funnels? All those things are feedback loops that we're checking weekly to get better results.
Right.
And I always will give real life things of what we're doing because that's just how I know how to speak. But, you know, feel free to give any sort of like.
Of course. And I think something that I would like to add is like even the money aspect of it. Like you don't even question so much money when you're wanting to like move forward because you know what that is.
Right.
Your who is going to bring you back, you know, 10 times what you're about to pay. So you're willing to do it because you're like, this is my one thing. I know where the vision is going. And this who is going to make me 10 times what I'm paying him because the vision is so clear.
Right. It's an investment. And that's a part that that Dan Sullivan mentioned. And he said, I don't see people as a cost.
Yeah.
He said, if I bring them on, they're an investment.
Right.
He goes, and I'm investing not only into what they're doing for me, I'm literally investing into them and want to get them to their goal. That's and one thing that I do with my team, one, I call them a team, I don't call it a staff, right? So one thing that I do with my team is like, I ask them quarterly at least, hey, what are your goals? What do you want to be doing? Do you want to be doing this? Is this time schedule working for you?
Yeah.
And it's not because, right, maybe I'm not in a position where I can tell them, hey, you know, I can't pay you all the money I want and I can't give you all the time that I want, but I want to know that this is kind of aligning with you. And if not, then how can you do this for me, this service for me, and I can get you closer to what your goal is?
Yeah.
I already have a VA. My first VA, which worked for me for the first 2 years, she no longer works for me, but you know, we ended amicably. She actually was, she was amazing. I love her. Shout out to Janelle. One thing that I learned so much with her because she was the first one. So I tortured her, poor girl, because I didn't know what I was doing. But one of the things is that I knew what she wanted to do. She really wanted to do like, she was into art.
Oh, okay.
So she really wanted to do like, so I had her in real estate, not really what she was into, but it was, you know, ends to a means, what is that?
A means to an end.
Yeah, means to an end for her.
Yeah.
But I would always encourage her, hey, keep looking for that job though. Like keep looking for that job. And then it got even to a point where she was doing both. And I was like, listen, if you can handle both, you can do both. And then it got to a point where she was like, listen, I don't think I can do both time, And I was like, listen, I'm so happy for you.
Right.
We've gotten you to your goal. Like, you know what I mean? You found your next thing and you're moving on to your next chapter.
When they come through you, it's like they're growing. They're being propelled to wherever they're going.
Absolutely. She learned so many things I know in those 2 years because we learned them together in real time that I know helped her because it was what she was doing was marketing for that art, but it was closer to where she wanted to be. Right. But it was the same marketing she was doing for me for 2 years. So I was able to teach her something that I would like to believe possibly got her into that next job, and closer to her goal. Right. And ideally, that's my goal. That's always, even with team members that are real estate agents, team members that are assistants or admins on the team. Like, that's ultimately one of the goals that we have here on the Everything.
Which is phenomenal. And I see it myself, by the way. Just to add that to this, like joining the team, like because of this, there's little things. There's things that are happening. Around me. Because of the, figuring out how to put the camera up and all these little things, the editing and all these things, they're helping me to do the next thing that I believe is right around the corner. It's already happening, but if it wasn't for these things, it would be harder to then get to that.
Absolutely, and I think one of the big ones, because like you're mentioning, you're doing like what I consider to be the go-giver, which is also what Dan Sullivan kind of lives by. We haven't gotten to that book yet. But those opportunities are opening also from the books that we're actually reading and speaking about.
Right.
And we're getting all these gems and then we're applying them. Because one of the things that we decided that we were going to apply was, hey, we're going to reach out to people on Instagram through social media to build these relationships and come from a place of value.
Right.
And you're doing that and it's working astronomical.
It's phenomenal.
So, right?
You just do what the books are saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Do what the books are saying. Build these relationships. People with like-minded, and the feedback loop, right? I mean, it's not like Junior loves me every day, because sometimes I'm like, man, wait, this is, this or that, but I have to give you that feedback loop,
right?
Because it's a part of staying in alignment,
right?
So, right?
Totally.
So it all makes sense. It all comes together, and keeping synergy, like, right? One thing is to like give feedback, but you don't want it to be negative, and you also want to make sure that the synergy is there, where like the goals are aligning, right? Like so. I want to always make sure that the goal is still within what you want it to be too, right? Like, so the Everything Homes brand is growing, but I want you to come every week and tell me, hey, I'm doing this with Felipe. Hey, I'm doing this with this guy. Like, and I'm not like, no, you should just be doing it with that. No, I'm not. Do it. Let's go.
Yeah, keep going.
That's the goal of this. The goal is to propel and grow. Right. So I love that one. I just shout out to you and shout out to what we have going here.
Yeah.
And to see it being kind of expressed in this book is cool. The 4 freedoms, which is, you touched on one. By applying the who, not now, you achieve freedoms for key areas. The one and the most important that I think we talked about on every podcast is your time.
Right.
Delegating tasks frees up time for strategic thinking and creativity and leisure.
Yeah.
Right? So for all of it.
Yeah, and I think something that was really interesting to point out in this is that he talked about procrastination being a good thing. And I was
that was unique.
I was like, wait a minute, how is that a good thing? And then, his understanding was that basically if you're procrastinating, it might not be a bad thing. It's just you just need somebody to help you to get wherever you're getting. So ask yourself, who is going to help me get there?
Right.
But it could be a bad thing when it's like you don't even do that.
Yeah, or you're not doing anything.
You're just negligent. But he said, no, use that as wisdom. It's because you need to ask yourself, who can get me there faster?
That's what he said. Procrastination is wisdom.
Exactly.
That was funny. And he was being a little facetious and funny with it and saying, I realized that's something that we all have in common. Procrastination is like the hidden secret.
Right.
Nobody talks about it, which is true, right?
Yeah.
I don't think people talk about that. But it was powerful because what he's saying is, you're probably procrastinating. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it for a specific reason. It might not be what you're strong at or passionate about.
Right.
Why not find somebody to handle that for you? And now you're not procrastinating, right?
And it's not going to take you 2 weeks, a month, a year to do. It's because you just got to find that right person.
Right. Especially if you have to do it.
Right.
Right. There's certain things in my industry that have to get done that aren't my favorite. Paperwork, now my favorite. Cold calling, now my favorite. I put people in the position. Those things still have to get done, though. I won't be able to be an agent. I won't be able to get leads. I won't be able to do certain things. So those things still have to get done. I have to find a who that is the person to do it.
Right.
So I love that. The second one of the 4 freedoms is money. Effective collaboration can lead to better financial results. But not only that, when he spoke about money, he also spoke about if you have the money to take care of a problem, you don't have a problem. I think that's what he said, right?
Yeah, that's amazing, because it's like you're not thinking big enough. You're not big enough. Your goal, your dream is not as big as it should be.
Right. And I think the best, I'm going to tell the little story he mentioned here, which is powerful for the frugal. I don't know any frugal people. I'm just saying. It's powerful for frugal people, though. One of the things that he mentioned was a guy. He was like a millionaire, and the guy was a millionaire, and he would still do a bunch of things on his own. Like, he wouldn't go to the mechanic to fix his car. He would fix his car himself, because he's like, I'm gonna save $250, $400. I'm not gonna pay for that.
Yeah.
And then he went to fix the AC. And he had to go on the roof of his house, or he had to go up high, and he fell back, busted his head, and he was like, he was an intellectual property kind of guy, so he made money with his mind, and he hit his head, knocked on the door in front of his house, and he's like, oh, I'm fine, starts throwing up, and they notice he had a concussion, gets to the hospital, ends up being in the hospital for, I think, 2 months, goes in a coma and everything, survives this, goes into deep depression because he realizes, I almost lost my life because I didn't want to pay an HVAC guy $250 when I'm a millionaire. Right? And it's like, that was like his concept when he did have to learn how to walk again, had to learn how to talk again, deal with all his emotions of depression and everything. And then once he finally made it out of that, he said, no, never again. And started implementing who, not how, by saying, no, I need to find the right people. Like, I know what my job is. Like, I make money. And I don't know if I forget if he was like stock market or what he did. But it's like, there's no need for me to go to the roof.
Yeah.
And now he does none of that, right? And I think this might be another guy that he gave an example, like, he's like this is the guy that actually says, if you have enough money to resolve the problem, then you don't have a problem. And that guy he first started with a cleaning lady. And he was like, I don't have time to clean.
Yeah.
It's not worth my time for the amount of money that I can make in that time.
Yeah.
Right? And my just time for leisure. And so he paid for a cleaning lady. And then he took it one step further and said, and he asked his cleaning lady, hey, do you mind doing my laundry? And she did her, obviously for an extra fee. And my groceries.
Yeah.
And then he would come home from traveling, because his business had to do with traveling. And every 2 weeks, his fridge was restocked, his house was clean, and he didn't have to think about it. It was in an automation.
That's so powerful, man. And that reminds me of something that, in the book, when he said that when he got somebody to write the book, right? He said, you're going to take control of all of this. I'm not going to be involved whatsoever. Like, you're doing everything. And it just shows you, like, how can you replace yourself immediately? Whatever you're starting, how can you replace yourself personally and in your business? And once you can get, like, that's a skill, I think. Once you can finally get good at that, you're going to be so free in time and money and everything. Yep. Even though it looks like in the beginning you're putting up whatever it is, but you're not really losing.
It's an investment.
You're actually gaining back all this back, because your mind is going to be free to do what you're supposed to do, your one thing.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. The 4 freedoms, we've talked about time, money, and now we're getting into relationships. Building a network of who's strengthens professional and personal connections. Personal connections.
Right.
Right? Like, it's important. Like, at the end of the day, the relationships don't only matter by the who and what someone can get done for you, but it's always acts of service also, or what can you add as value to someone. And a lot of times in business, in real estate, in, the businesses that I've endeavored in, a lot of times the people that give you business is not about the knowledge that you know. It's
Yeah.
about, do they like you?
Right.
Genuinely, are they having fun speaking with you, like you? Are you personable? Do you guys have similarities, synergy? And then from there, it's like, oh, you know what? I'm doing this thing over here. Maybe you'd be interested in being a part of it.
Right.
And like, that's why so much people are like, oh, what do you real estate agents do? A bunch of, all y'all do is networking events. Well, in those networking events, you get to meet, one, your colleagues.
Right.
But two, you get to speak about things. We'll be in the middle of a martini and just talking about our day and golfing or whatever that you're into.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, because I got this house for sale on boom, boom, boom. On where? Oh, I got a client that's looking right there.
Right.
Boom. Organically. Were we talking about business? No, we were talking about golfing. But we landed here.
Yeah.
So relationships, building that network of who's that can actually get the task done, but also just building relationships and network with people, being people, is valuable.
Yeah, people will remember, they won't remember what you know, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yes, exactly.
So, that resonates a lot because, like, even now, you know, I told you about one of the guys that I started working with. Like, that's what I want. Like, just how can we serve each other? How can I serve you? Absolutely. And then he came back with, you know, can I guide you on your health journey? Like, absolutely, you can help me with my health journey. Like, I told him I really don't want nothing from you except collaboration when you can. But then he came back with that. Like, that's relationships. Like, I didn't even expect him to do any of that. But wow, now I'm gonna get benefited because of that. I wasn't thinking about it, and then my wife too. It's like that's phenomenal.
That's awesome, and it's growth. I love that. And then the last 4 freedoms. So we have time, money, relationships, and the last one is purpose. You can focus more on your why rather than getting bogged down into the hows. I told you guys it sounded like a Dr. Seuss book, but it's so good. You can focus on your why, right? You find your one thing, you focus your purpose, and you're able to really hunker down on your specialty and leave all the extra things that have to get handled to your who and to somebody else, to the person that can handle that for you.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly genuinely suck at cameras and setting up cameras. Like, you know?
Yeah.
This probably wouldn't even be happening if you weren't here and willing to come and say, hey, let me set up the cameras and set up the visuals, right?
Right.
And this probably wouldn't happen if we didn't have Ed to do the editing.
Yeah, and to clean up everything. Yep.
The cleaning up, the polishing, the adding the extra things.
Right.
And this probably wouldn't happen if we didn't have Lenny to go put it all on socials and market it everywhere that we needed to be marketed, right? Like, we wouldn't have the time in the 24 hours to do all of it.
It wouldn't happen. Right?
So the who's are so important for you to focus on your thing, which is to give you guys this value. So it talks about building a team. I think recognizing and trying to do everything. That chapter of building a team is so powerful. I heard it and I want to revisit it. I don't feel like I even took enough notes on it, but I think it's just so powerful.
Yeah.
One of the things that they said here, recognize that trying to do everything yourself is limiting. Focus on what you're best and find others who excel in the areas where you don't do well.
Right.
This way, each person can contribute their unique strength and collective goal, which is kind of what we just mentioned. Overcoming fear of delegation. Start small by delegating less critical tasks and gradually build into your team's ability. The key is to provide autonomy while maintaining clear communication and expectation. This is a talent of itself.
Yeah. When he said that, he was like that one of the best things you could do is just leave the task in the person's hand.
Yeah.
But you got to trust that he's good at what he does.
Yeah. And
that's, like you said, it's a talent, it's a skill to be able to trust somebody, to not worry so much. But once you can do that, it's like the sky's the limit.
And not only that, but even delegating it though properly. Again, with having people on the team, it's given me such an opportunity to grow in this aspect, because I used to send a text and say, hey, can you do put it A, B, and C? And then it wouldn't be what I was expecting. And I used to get frustrated. And then I go back and look at what I wrote and I go, well, they gave me what I wrote in these 3 sentences. I wasn't specific enough. Because you still got to be specific. in what your expectation is. And then that's a part of what he's talking about here with the start small by delegating less critical tasks and gradually build trust in the team's ability. I think it's about like, all right, let's see what they can do.
Right.
Let's start with these smaller tasks.
Right.
And then kind of get them there. But also taking accountability still, because yes, you'll have the who, but you still need to convey expectation. And I think that's something that is an ongoing thing.
And the clear
vision,
a leader. The clear vision too was really good, because once that vision is super clear, it's like, oh, we know exactly.
Right, your clear vision, right. And with the clear vision, then you don't have to delegate as much because everybody will probably be on board and on the same page.
Right.
Which is nice, like, again, going back to our stuff, now our brand has kind of got its look. It's way easier to tell them now, hey, go look at the last 12. Right. Go look at the last 12 thumbnails and you should get a good idea of what I want in a thumbnail.
Right.
Shouldn't have to keep explaining it because it's right there.
Right.
So it's like, I love that because now we have the template, the blueprint that can be emulated and modeled.
Right.
The vision of the brand is way clearer.
Right.
So super cool. Overcoming fear of delegation. And then a story example of not delegating necessarily, but using the who and finding the right who's and building relationships to the maximum levels. And this story was so powerful to me because it also shows where it's not selfishness, it's lack of trust, I think. And I suffer from this. I think I said that already in a podcast, and I've been breaking out of it and trying my best to break out of it more and more. Is the story of Karen Nance situation. She wanted to write a book about her grandmother, Ethel Ray Nance, and she was wanted to write a biography story, but she was also like a history major or something, like a teacher. So she had a whole job and was trying to write this book. She had never written an autobiography, but wanted to write one about her grandmother. And a year into writing it, I think she was in like 200 pages in already. She got a call from Dr. Whitmire, who was already a pronounced biography writer, historian biography writer, who also wanted to write about her grandmother, was already writing about her grandmother, but was only 100 pages in. And her first response was, wait, I want to write this. I'm not giving. So she didn't give her any information because she was like, I want to write this. But as the time went on, it was 2020, and she knew she wasn't going to be able to finish the book that year or for the foreseeable future, really, because she was too boggled down with all the other things, with her one thing, maybe her job, and she couldn't really give the time to writing this book. And she didn't have the experience. She didn't have the publishing team. And speaking with the author of this book, which was one of her mentors, he was speaking with Benjamin Hardy, and Benjamin told her, hey, why don't you collaborate with this person? Why don't you do a co-author with her? Give her everything that you have up to right now. Give her all the information about your grandma because you have all this insider information.
Right.
And this is what she does. This is her one thing. Yeah. She writes autobiographies. She already has the publishing deals, has everything going on. You won't have to worry about tackling all that after you write this book. Right. And with doing that, she was able to accomplish it and finish it, co-writing the book now with someone and accomplishing her tasks in the time frame that she wanted to do it. Yeah. And it reminds me of I'd rather have a piece of a watermelon than the whole watermelon. Yeah. I'd rather have a piece of a pie than the whole pie. Yeah, like it's okay because you're still getting the most out of the project. Yeah. The project is still getting done. And yeah, exactly. Your goal is really to highlight your grandmother. Exactly. And write her autobiography to the best of the ability. Well, you have someone who writes spectacular autobiographies. Right. That is going to be written to the best of the ability. Yeah. And now you can put your input in there and still get the goal, right? And you still get the credit and still are involved. Yeah, I correlate that with like what we're doing. Like I could have easily said, you know what, I'm gonna start this, me and my wife or whatever that thing we spoke about, and I'm gonna have all these guests that as you know, I've been sending them over to you. It's like, but why? Like we're already doing this. Like I want the project to get done. I want the mission to get done. Absolutely. And I know that this is gonna 100-fold what we're already doing. Right. And so instead of having everything divided, like
let's make this great.
Let's all add it into one thing, put all our energy in here.
Right.
And get the best out of it.
And have it blow up.
Exactly. So I love that. This book is a must read.
Yeah.
Is there any other parts that you want to add? I think that the 4 freedoms are such a big part. The who, not how, just in all, the clear vision, the right who's, regular feedback, the teamwork. Those are definitely the nuts and bolts for me.
Yeah. I feel like just to make it really simple, and for me, what I'm taking away from this book, that we should always ask ourselves, instead of saying, how am I going to do that? Who's going to help me? Just to summarize this entire podcast for me is like, instead of me saying once again, like, oh, how am I going to, get these cameras where they need to be? All right, who can help me?
Right.
Maybe we might need some extra hands or whatever that is, but always asking myself, who?
We have someone who wrote us, by the way, on the email. We'll talk about that.
Awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you guys with that. I think for those listeners, we want to thank you guys for the people that are staying all the way through. And the biggest takeaway is that who can help you get to your goal, and how can you be of service to somebody and be somebody's who? Because it's a double-edged, it's a give and a take. So, with that being said, guys, this here was the Everything is Everything podcast. My name is Vladimir Ledesma.
And my name is Fabio Suarez.
And we want to thank you guys for your time. Have a good one.
This is extraordinary. Can't ignore it. This my story. I've been more than ready.